Welcome to another Unwinding with Fiber and Fabric and Tour de Fleece 2023. I managed to get the first bobbin done yesterday of my green spin, and today I'm going to start working through the second section of this green merino wool. So before we start, let's go ahead and get the topic out for today. And the topic is healthy hands and body. Oh, that's actually, I'm glad we're getting this one earlier in the month, not at the end, because it is a good reminder of the fact that we can get so into the event that we may not necessarily be taking the time to take care of ourselves. And I am certainly someone who falls into the category of getting so caught up in the event that I don't take the rest times that I need. So it's early in the morning, but I think my brain is a little bit more awake today than it was yesterday. So let's go ahead and get started. And I should have the camera better set up for today, so as long as it doesn't decide to cut out on me, we'll get some maybe better footage. I'm going to go ahead and show how I am using a leader on my bobbin. I'm just wrapping the, just feeding through the opening. There's a little, I have a little loop at the end. I'm just feeding my raw fiber or my unspun fiber through that loop. I allow a little bit of twist to get into that, and then I allow the take up to take it into the bobbin. And it's as simple as that. Although sometimes it isn't that simple to get to get it started. It should be as simple as that. So, trying to keep my keep my hands and the fiber in the frame of the video. I was really taken yesterday with just how many things actually behind the scenes could cause me difficulty. But I stayed calm, and that I think is the first thing I want to cover in keeping ourselves healthy during an event like this, when we're spinning, whether we're doing a spin along, a knit along, whatever we're doing, slowing the wheel down a little, trying to let the fiber go in at the same consistency as I was doing yesterday, and not getting too much twist in it. So when we're doing an event like this, it is easy for us to get caught up in it. The excitement at the beginning of the event can sometimes lead us to get a little overextend ourselves. But I think one of the things that we often overlook is how that early excitement that the event is starting, it revs us up. It keeps us, it kicks in the endorphins, and we're happy and excited. And that positive energy of the beginning of the event. Yeah, there goes my camera. So I'm not going to get much footage for this one. I apologize. Something is going on that my camera is cutting out, even though it has a full battery charge. Maybe it's just a bad battery. Alas. But, so, the endorphins of the beginning of an event, all the excitement, it acts as a... it acts as a bit of a drug to make us feel happy and excited and have more energy than maybe we would otherwise have. And we get caught up in it. But then as the event progresses, especially something like this that takes, that goes for day after day after day, we find the initial excitement wears off, and we might start feeling a little frustrated or a little down. Even just a little down about, because we don't have that early excitement anymore. The thrill of sharing our first fibers maybe wanes just a little bit. And that is a normal thing. When I used to run and train for marathons in my youth, I learned that sometimes, you know, the excitement of the starting line of a race would cause us maybe to run too fast. And then all of a sudden we would start to wear down. And learning how to pace ourselves was something so vital to the success of any event. And I think that holds true for something like this. If we start off through the gate of the race as fast as we can, we won't have the ability to sustain ourselves all the way to the end. But also what happens, even if we are pacing ourselves, once we have made it past the early stage, we might find ourselves just feeling a little, maybe feeling all the little aches and pains, and I guess you could call it like the morning stiffness. Even if we've warmed up, we might find ourselves just all of a sudden going, okay, now that it's started, what do I do next? And in the case of something like an event like this, I think a word boredom might set in a little. It's not as exciting as it was on the first days. And that is something we actually have to be prepared for, and we have to combat. And that's one of the reasons I like to switch up the fiber that I'm spinning. I like to, rather than, now, I make sure I have lots of extra bobbins. If that is not something that you have an option of, you could consider winding your yarn off onto holding bobbins, toilet paper rolls, the cardboard inserts. But see if you can find a way to if you don't want to go ahead and just immediately ply up your fibers, find a way to have it so that it's resting to the side. I like to change up my fibers. I like to ply a number of fibers on the same day. That's my rhythm. But there's other ways of doing it. One of the things you can consider is, while we love having big, giant hanks of yarn, maybe splitting our spins up into smaller sections. And if you have to spin and then ply, there's nothing wrong with a smaller ball of yarn. Yes, as we are knitting them, etc., we might have to weave in more ends, but there's nothing wrong with splitting it up. In fact, with hand spun, it can actually be an advantage, because we find sometimes that while we're spinning day after day, we aren't getting the gauge of our yarn exactly spot on. And if you have smaller balls of yarn, hanks of yarn to work with, skeins of yarn to work with, you can mix those up in your project so that, you know, your thickness is spread out more evenly, I guess you could say. So there are ways to get around the doldrums of mid-competition, mid-race. You just have to figure out what works for you. So that's talking about the, oh, and then of course, on that subject of being maybe frustrated, sometimes we feel like we didn't accomplish with spin what we were hoping. And we can get down on ourselves. We are our worst critics, you know. And that's where taking the time to share our photos, share our comments in social media, that's where it can really help. Because when we're showing and sharing a photo of what we're doing, and everybody responds, and people do, they may not always comment, but we'll get little loves and likes, and just sharing and interacting can sometimes be the lift we need. So, and here's the thing. In an event like this, if you're feeling frustrated, let people know you're feeling frustrated. However, there's a good way and a bad way to do that. I have found that the people who start off their post with their accomplishment, seeing the accomplishment that they had in their spin first, and then say, but I'm feeling frustrated, it's not quite, or asking a question, I find they get a lot more response than the people who just either say, well, here it is, or make a self-deprecating remark about their effort. I think people want to help, and whether it's answering a question or giving advice, sometimes people want to advise too much. But if you're looking for a way to get a lot of response, asking a question rather than just saying, well, it didn't work the way I wanted it to, that tends to get a lot more response. People like to help, but they're not always sure how to respond when a person is complaining about their effort. Now, there is nothing wrong about complaining. I am a firm believer that it helps relieve our stress when we do vent a bit about our efforts. But at the same time, I've been working really hard on trying to stay calm despite the things that don't go as well as planned. And so finding that balance, much like starting a road race, finding the balance and not overdoing it so that you don't crash, that is a huge task to learn. So don't get frustrated with yourself if it doesn't work. Whatever it is you're working on, whatever you're trying to accomplish in this month-long spin-along, don't get down on yourself. You can be frustrated, and you can vent, and you can ask for help. But don't get down on yourself. Because remember, it wouldn't be a challenging event if we weren't challenging ourselves. And that's what we're doing. And that challenge may have very little to do with the yarn we're making, but may have a lot more to do with what we're asking of ourselves. I know in my case, that is certainly true. Now, the other thing that comes to mind is when we're spinning, finding a comfortable position. And no two people are going to be able to say, well, this is my comfort and it works for everybody. The truth is what's comfortable for you. And if what is comfortable for you, okay, is leaning forward, if that is what is your comfort zone, by all means do that. However, you are putting a strain on your body. No matter how you're spinning, you're putting a strain on your body. And you need to remember to take a break, to get up, to stretch, to get something to eat, to get something to drink. That's one of the reasons I try to keep these, excuse me, try to keep these videos to a very specific time so that anybody who is spinning along with me, now if you have your snacks with you, you can sit and spin and listen to me and you have your snacks. But it is still good to get up and move. And I try to keep these videos to a time frame that encourages you to get up and move when they're done. I will admit to being terrible, absolutely terrible at following this advice. I'll sit down, I will put on a program. Oh, nothing like going onto YouTube and watching a 3-hour compilation documentary on the history of Rome or the history of Britain. Nothing like getting into it and forgetting to get up and move. But it is not good for your body to not stretch, to not move around, to not get something, to not take something of a break. So that's the second thing that I want to address. We need to take care, the first being we want to take care of our mental state so that we don't get overly frustrated and have that be the thing that sabotages our event. The next, we want to avoid injury. And anytime we're doing a physical activity, and this is a physical activity, and we don't give ourselves a break, we are running the risk of injury. So this is a really good habit to get into. Getting up, moving around, stretching out your shoulders, stretching out your hands, taking a break. And if you are new to long spinning sessions, build up to them. Don't just dive in. Even young bodies will feel the strain. Even if, whether you're using a e-spinner, a spindle, or a wheel. Oh, excuse me. We have been having some dirty air due to forest fires and high tree pollen, etc. And I've just been coughing a lot from it. Not sick, just it's allergies. So, taking care of our mental health and taking care of our physical health. Very important, especially in an event like this, if we want to be able to make it to the end. And there will be things that come up that will interrupt our ability to spin all the way through the month. Sadly, every year there are crashes. Whether the crash occurs at the wheel or the crash occurs as we go about the rest of our day, there will be crashes. There will be people who will have to physically withdraw from the event. But here's the thing. This is a social event. Don't hesitate to participate simply because you're not producing yarn every day. This is a social event as much as a let's see if we can spin enough yarn to knit up for the next year. So the next thing I want to address is something that that a lot of people discover as they're spinning are hands. So I want to speak specifically over the hands, not just the strain on our hands, but our skin. When we're spinning different fibers, the fibers are going through our hands. They are, unless the fiber has lanolin still left in it, they are stripping away our own natural moistures, and they make our hands dry. I have been carding up some fiber, and the fiber I'm carding right now doesn't have any lanolin in it, and it does. It takes. I have a blister forming on my hand, and so our hands can take a real beating during this time. So make sure you hydrate your hand. Make sure you massage your hands. If you have someone in your life who cares about you and will take the time, ask someone to rub your hands with lotion. Massaging in lotion is wonderful. Having someone else massage the lotion in your hands, oh, that can be so therapeutic. So if you have somebody in your life who will do that, ask them to do that. If not, then one hand at a time, massage the other. Take the time to treat your hands well. Take the time to treat your feet well if you're sitting here treadling the whole time. But take the time to take care of and moisturize these tools that we sometimes take for granted. So I have found recently a local woman who is making her own goat's milk hand lotion. And she, the lotion contains coconut oil and goat's milk and not much else. Just, I think she put some stuff in it to keep it, to keep it from having issue from contaminants. But beyond that, it is very clean, it's very pure, and it is magic on my hands. Because I'm a hand quilter, there are times where my fingertips get a little damaged from the needles. And I have found that using this lotion, it repairs them. Now, I have other things that I've used in the past, but I honestly have never had something that makes my hands feel as silky smooth. So do a little experimentation on your hands. See what is going to work for you to keep your hands hydrated, to keep your hands smooth. Now, some of the fibers that we spin will do more damage to our hands than others, and some of the fibers that we spin, we really want to have very soft, smooth hands. So one of the big fibers we all know about is silk. If you haven't heard, silk is both hard on your hands, and if your hands are not smooth, it wants to grab and stick to your hands and not spin easily onto the wheel or onto the spindle. So silk, whenever we're going to spin silk, we really want to take some extra prep. And I have used, I've used an olive oil and a sugar scrub on my hands to prepare them, to smooth them up before spinning silk. But honestly, the goat's milk lotion that I'm using, it does the trick for me. I was doing some drum carding the other day, and whenever I drum card, because I'm always touching the drum, I always have hands that look like they've been a little bit through a cheese grater. Hold on. I need to adjust this. I think in moving, there we go. In moving the wheel around the last couple of days, yesterday, moving it from this position to finish up, because yes, I moved the wheel quite a bit off camera. I adjusted my wheel, moved it just a bit, and it wasn't taking up the way I wanted it to. So if your wheel isn't doing what you want it to do, take the time to stop and adjust a little bit. It happens. Wheels get bumped and moved as we are, even as we're sitting here spinning. My knee can bump the maiden and knock it out of alignment. So back to the hands. So I will use this, sometimes I'll use a sugar scrub. I've heard people do a salt scrub as well with the olive oil. Treat your hands to a little bit of a spa. Make sure that your fingernails don't have any rough edges. But this goat's milk that I'm using, I really do find it to be just wonderful. So, and it's wonderful to support a local small business. My husband loves her soaps. So yeah, it was a great find this spring. So we want to treat our hands well. We want to keep them soft, and the fibers that we're spinning tend to work against that. So take the time, and oh, definitely, if you know somebody who can who can rub the lotion into your hands for you, it is a treat, and it really can, it can really help, especially during a month like Tour de Fleece. So that is talking about the healthy mind, the healthy body, and I believe I've covered my topics. Well, that is wonderful. I guess I should be grateful that my camera here on the side has stopped working, because it means I will be able to just upload this with very little editing required. And that means I can finish it early today and move on to a few other things that I want to do, and mostly rest. I plan to to do a little bit of extra rest today. Yesterday, I made, let's see, I made some earrings. I don't know how well they will show. I'll put a picture right here of some of the earrings that I made yesterday. Or the day before. I can't remember now. The days all start to blur together. Yes, the days all blur together, especially if I'm having any kind of technical difficulties. But I made some earrings. I've been working on them for a few days. They are laser cut, and then they are painted, and then I have to put the jewelry findings on them. All things that, believe it or not, actually help me stay calm and more balanced during Tour de Fleece. I know a number of you spinners, you have full-time jobs, families. All of these things, while they may sometimes feel like they are pulling you away from your spinning, in an event like today, an event like Tour de Fleece, those things are actually helping you stay balanced. Keeping a normal routine. Keeping a routine. I'm getting a strobe effect from one of my lights all of a sudden. I think that means I need to wrap this up because my eyes are now having a strobe effect. So my body is telling me I've spun enough. But as I was saying, whether you have a full-time job or a family or health issues, try to keep... Tour de Fleece is a wonderful event. It's a wonderful social event. It's a wonderful personal challenge. It's a wonderful time to share something we love with others. But in order to not have it consume us, we really do need to try to keep a bit of our normal routine. And all of these things that we feel like keep us from spinning actually are something that can be seen as we can see them as a way of keeping our perspective. And maybe, just maybe, because of Tour de Fleece, we will start having spinning become something that is part of our normal routine rather than something that we don't fit in to our day with our full-time job or our children or our external family or whatever our commitments are. So that's one of the things I really hope that you can accomplish. I hope it's one of your goals. I know it is one of mine. Using Tour de Fleece as a way to develop a better balance that includes spinning rather than just having it something that dominates our life. Even for me, who spends a whole lot of time during Tour de Fleece recording these videos and sharing them, I am focused on having it become a balanced part of my day, not an all-consuming part of my day. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video and hit like if you do. I hope that you take more time to unwind with fiber and fabric in your day as your day allows. And we will see you tomorrow. Happy spinning.